down. When you first get there, you go there in the middle of the night. It's dark. You've been up since probably 3 o'clock in the morning because you go through this thing called MEPS, which is your medical entrance processing station,
Yeah.
through the government. So you go up, you get processed. They say, hey, are you okay? Are you this? Are you that? Do you have anything that hurts you? Is your head okay? All that stuff.
Yeah.
And you go through that. They put you on a plane. They send you down you lay in Savannah, Georgia. You get bussed off to Paris Island, right? That's shock and awe. You meet some of the processing DIs, right? As soon as you get off you get off the plane in the airport, they got like a little processing center. So that was kind of funny because that was my first image of actually seeing these guys like for real. And I remember I walked in, it was a guy my height, but he had such a V and he had this square head and he had this thick neck. And, he was like, sit down, shut up. And I was like, man, I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy. I want to have that confidence, right? You tell a group of young men, hey, follow me. I'm going to take you to where you need to be, right? Like
Yeah.
literally. That was my first kind of like I was excited. I was like, wow, I'm here. And you go onto the bus, put your head down, drive right into Paris Island. It's on an island. And I knew I actually was there before. I was there on vacation. I was on vacation with my parents. And when we were there with my dad, it's knowing that my dad trained there and knowing that, one of the Marines retired that was there, he said, hey, Devil Dog, you're a Marine. Oh, when did you graduate? And it was such a respect. Like this guy didn't even know my dad, but he already knew him
Mm.
because he was a Marine. He
Right.
had some resemblance, like, you know what I mean? That camaraderie, like with anyone you meet, that's a Marine. And I seen that and just walking around here, I'm like, man, I said, I gotta train here, I gotta show up here. And it was funny because we went in one of the museums and one of the pictures in there looked exactly like me. It was from late 1800s, looked exactly like me. Even my parents were like, whoa, this looks like it. So
Yeah.
I knew I had to go back. So going into Paris Island, just, knew that my dad trained there and knew that, to stand on those yellow footprints where my dad stood one day, back in the 80s was so cool.
Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Third Chances. My today guest is William or Billy R. Boyle Jr. Yeah, I have to ask you about that. And he's a veteran advocate, black belt, marine, entrepreneur, real estate investor, ambassador, mentor, public speaker, technology professional, and book nerd. Well, when you read that, you think he's probably around 50 or so. No, he is, I believe, 26.
Yes, ma'am. 26 or 27. 27.
Incredible achievements in a young age. Bill has overcome and conquered whatever has come his way. And that's the reason why I asked him to be on this podcast, because we are all about mindset and personal growth and overcoming things that seem impossible. He started from black belt to marine. The black belt mindset has shaped his way of life and his mentality. He looks to inspire future generations to become black belts and implement the black belt mindset in young men and women, which is very noble purpose. I love that. And when Bill sent me his bio, he also included a quote from Greg Norman: "Your dreams are the blueprint to reality." I could not agree more. Bill, thank you. Thank you. Welcome to my podcast. How are you
Yeah,
today?
yeah, doing fantastic, fantastic, Vera. Thank you so much for having me on.
Remind me where you are joining us from.
So I'm down in South Jersey, about a couple hours from New York City, about 30 minutes from Philly, 30 minutes from the Jersey Shore, and I'm
Mhm.
in Hamilton, New Jersey, blueberry capital of the world. Can
Is
you
it?
believe
I
it?
thought that was
Yeah.
Maine.
No, no, we have the right soil down here, sandy soil, and we known for blueberries. Big Italian
Hmm.
community as well.
That I know, yeah. But the blueberries really surprised me. Let's see how little I know still about America. So I understand you are still in active duty as a Marine.
Yes. So right now I'm in reserve status. I was on active duty. Been on and off active duty last couple years. Been in the Marine Corps for 3 years. And it's been a great experience. Really shaped who I am today.
You really amazed me, and I don't take it lightly. It's not a joke, but to achieve all this at your age, I told you before we started recording that I wish I have your mindset when I was your age, because I would probably save myself quite a lot of headaches throughout my life. And some people have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. And somehow you have that growth and discipline in you from young age. How were you as a child?
Well, I had a lot of energy as a child. I think that's why my parents only had one child because they could
Oh,
barely control me.
they couldn't take it.
They couldn't control me, but no, I had great parents. They're my best friends today, and I think
Mm,
that's a big part of it, having that structure. But growing up, we grew in a middle class, middle class home, middle class, that blue collar, white collar kind of mentality where you
mhm.
go out and you earn what you put into your craft, right?
Yeah.
My dad's a Marine, was a big influence in my life. When he was going through the Marine Corps, some of the people that were better than him, and that says a lot of him admitting that, hey, these people are better than me, were black belts. They were martial artists. They were guys that were dedicated to their craft, had that black belt mindset. And he said, you know what, I'm going to implement that in my child. I'm going to
Mm.
implement the Marine Corps spirit, the black belt mindset into my child. And my mother was a big help with that. And I started doing martial arts when I was young, got my black belt, and kind of it took off from there. I had a lot of struggles, growing up. Always felt like I was an outsider, felt like I was different. Just because I think even at a young age, going through martial arts, growing up in a Marine Corps household, your expectations are different, you think different. You're
You're
kind of
brought
like a
up
rebel.
differently. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of like a rebel, and you don't fit in. You don't fit in as much. I went to Catholic school growing up, so it was a smaller niche kind of culture. Actually, I did public school, then Catholic school, and then actually back to public school, which was
Mm.
a unique experience. But I struggled academically. Just struggling in certain points to fit in. But I had that confidence that going around, figuring out a way, around things to be able
Yeah.
to survive and to
Yeah,
be able to,
how that come along? Because that's not very typical for young people to be always seeking to find a way that, some parents, when they instill some values in the children, and you saying that your father kind of decided you should be following with the martial art and black belt, some kids would rebel and wouldn't want to do anything with it, but you lean in. Did you love it? Did you immediately love it? Did you want to like make your father proud? Was it that kind of mindset?
yeah, I just think I looked up to my dad so much that I had that will to make him proud, and I had that trust in him to say,
Mhm.
hey, you know what? My dad's telling me to do this, I need to do this, right? And of course, when you're growing up, you're rebellious. It's natural to go against your parents in terms of
Yeah.
what they're saying and that. But I think, going and try, and I didn't really have a choice. It was like, hey, you're going to go do this because this is going to build you up because you're,
Mm.
a kid, right? You don't know any better, right? I'm doing this for the best interest of you. So kind of getting forced into that, and then seeing, the people at the dojo, right? The people at my martial arts studio, to see those instructors and seeing those black belts, they just possess that alpha mentality. There's a lot of women in martial arts, though.
Yeah.
So you had
Yes.
alpha women, strong men, strong kids, and it just was Amazing, Vera. It was amazing, and I gravitated towards it, and I was all in, yeah, as a young kid.
It struck me like you were always a leader, never follower. You just want to like lead your own path.
Yeah, and I think being an only child, I was close to my parents, but being an only child, it's kind of like, you're on your own in terms of your age group.
Hmm.
I had cousins, I had a big family, but you're kind of in your own block, your own area. You're going to school that nobody else from my family or I didn't have any other friends. You're going to a school, so you kind of felt isolated where you're like, hey, I got to figure out a way to survive, right? I got to
Yeah.
figure out a way. How am I going to build my own way and build that base for myself even as a young kid, was
Mhm.
like, how am I gonna be somebody, right?
Yeah, no, you surprised me because obviously we talked before, and I was telling you I came from a communist country. There was no private business, so I had no role models about how to have an entrepreneurial spirit. Never mind investing or something like that. And you just totally shocked me when you told me your age because you are already investing, you are already doing real estate, you are already thinking much further away than I would guess 90% of young kids, because we can have very short attention today, and people just want to live and have fun and enjoy and spend money. And there's not many people in your generation group that would be thinking the way you think. And that was really attractive for me because I was like, this guy has something to teach. And even though my audience is probably a little older, it's still like I'll be 60 next year. And you are doing things that I never even thought of. And it really fascinates me. So let's go back to, did you always want to go to Marines? Did you have anything else in mind, or it was just like given path because you want to be like your dad?
It was funny. I was talking to a childhood friend I went through Catholic school with. We're very close. He's also a black belt as well. So one of my only right childhood friends that I now keep in touch with, black belt, right? Very
Yeah.
similar. He's doing successful things. But he brought up, he was like, "Yeah, I remember when you were 6, 7, 8 years old, talking about I'm going to be a Marine one day, talk about this and
Wow.
that." And it's funny to think about, but yeah, when I was a young kid, you see those Marine Corps commercials come on, and you think of your dad, like, "Hey, that's my dad up there," because he
Yeah.
represents the Marine Corps, right? Once a Marine, always a Marine. Always wanted to be a Marine. If there was any branch, any group that I had to be a part of, is to be a Marine because I felt like it was personal. It was in my blood.
What
You
was
know
the
what I mean?
most attractive thing about it for you as a young man?
It just felt different. It felt elite. It felt alpha, and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be part of that.
I love that. I love that. It's a leader in you. You can possibly, and like you said with your friend, how could somebody with your mindset be friend with somebody who is slacking and like going through life like, I don't know, I don't feel like doing. You can't be with people that are not up to your level of thinking, because they will either drag you down to their misery because you would feel bad for them, but you definitely would not be around people that push you higher and push your growth. So it's very logical that you would have people around yourself and create your circle of like-minded people.
Yeah, and I love the quote, "Show me your friends, show me your future," right?
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
speaks volume because it is, the people around you are either going to build you up or they're going to, push you down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So you have brilliant instincts in very young age. You kind of, when you talk about it, it seems like you had perfect vision who you want to be when you grow up, who you want to be as a person, as a man, as possibly husband and father eventually. You you knew exactly who you are as a human being, which is really admirable because I wasn't that way. A lot of people I know, they can figure out in their 50s, they are still looking to find themselves. You know, it's this is fascinating for me. So bring me through your story with however we can talk about it. What did you have to go through? How was it surprising what you found, or was it absolutely what you expected? How was the experience, or it still is?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Great experience. But went through a lot of resistance, right? Resistance makes warriors stronger, makes them better, makes them harder. But going in was pretty tough. Ended up getting pneumonia for 4 to 5 weeks in basic training. Was really sick, really beat up, lost about 15, 20 pounds.
Wow.
Really had to dig in deep with my faith, God, Jesus, all that. I had to dig deep with my faith, dig deep with why I'm here. I couldn't, go home. I couldn't be sick and go home and be
And mommy
ashamed of,
taking care of you. Yeah.
right. And be ashamed of, I didn't finish. I didn't finish the first time, right? I failed out. So that was really on the back of my mind, being sick, waking up, you're waking up 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting done at 2100 and going through being sick with pneumonia, not being able to breathe, getting that having that 100, 203 degree fever every day for 4 to 5 weeks. That itself changed me.
That's a dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, it that changed me, in terms of, and then all the training w was fantastic and all that, but you throw on top of being sick, on top of, Marine
Was it
Corps
when you
training.
already were in, or were you going through the Hell Week and stuff like that with pneumonia?
No, I was when I first got there, when you first get it's supposed to be a shock and awe. So when you first get to Paris Island, right, the legendary Paris Island, when you first get there, you go there in the middle of the night. It's dark. You've been up since probably 3 o'clock in the morning because you go through this thing called MEPS, which is your medical entrance processing station.
Yeah.
Through the government. So you go up, you get processed. They say, hey, are you okay? Are you this? Are you that? Do you have anything that hurts you? Is your head okay? All that stuff.
Yeah.
And you go through that. They put you on a plane. They send you down you lay in Savannah, Georgia. You get bussed off to Paris Island, right? That's shock and awe. You meet some of the processing DIs, right? As soon as you get off you get off the plane in the airport, they got like a little processing center. So that was kind of funny because that was my first image of actually seeing these guys like for real. And I remember I walked in, it was a guy my height, but he had such a V and he had this square head and he had this thick neck. And, he was like, sit down, shut up. And I was like, man, I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy. I want to have that confidence, right? You tell a group of young men, hey, follow me. I'm going to take you to where you need to be, right? Like
Yeah.
literally. That was my first kind of like, I was excited. I was like, wow, I'm here. And, you go onto the bus, put your head down, drive right into Paris Island. It's on an island. And I knew, I actually was there before. I was there on vacation. I was on vacation with my parents. And when we were there with my dad, knowing that my dad trained there and knowing that, one of the Marines retired that was there, he said, hey, Devil Dog, you're a Marine. Oh, when did you graduate? And it was such a respect. Like this guy didn't even know my dad, but he already knew him
Mm.
because he was a Marine. He
Right.
had some resemblance, like, you know what I mean? That camaraderie, like with anyone you meet, that's a Marine. And I seen that and just walking around here, I'm like, man, I said, I gotta train here. I gotta show up here. And it was funny because we went in one of the museums and one of the pictures in there looked exactly like me. It was from late 1800s, looked exactly like me. Even my parents were like, whoa, this looks like it. So
Yeah.
I knew I had to go back. So going into Paris Island, just, knew that my dad trained there and knew that, to stand on those yellow footprints where my dad stood one day, back in the 80s was so cool. So you go
Mhm.
through processing. They break you down. There's a couple days where, you're not getting a lot of sleep. They're breaking you down, right? And I remember my buddy, his brother was graduating from Paris Island the week that I was there. The week that
Mhm.
I was getting beat up and processing, and you're on a base, not that big, but you're on a base, and I could hear the crowds cheering. They were cheering for my buddy's brother was in that platoon, right? And
Mhm.
they were cheering and they were celebrating. And I remember I was like the most depressed I could be in my life, right? I'm getting breaking down and I'm having, you're having a tough time just like with anyone because
Yeah.
it's a shock
Yeah.
and awe. And I
Yeah.
remember standing there getting my rifle and say, that's gonna be me one day. I envisioned myself, walking with my parents, with my arms around them and becoming a Marine and them being proud of me. So it's just that kind of, those visions, those thoughts that kept me going. And, week by week, you get past week one, you get to week two, you get to week three. Week four is the last phase of first phase. And then, you start getting more into, the shooting and aspect and the educational aspect, physical aspect, and each day you count down those days like one less day I got to be on this island, right?
Mhm.
So it was an awesome experience, but it really, I felt like I came into Paris Island with some type of structure. At 24, I felt like I had some structure, but it really changed me. It set the bar higher, and it was an awesome experience,
At
certainly
this,
for a young man.
yeah, at this time, did you already have a black belt or that come later?
Yeah, I had my black belt, and then I ended up getting my green belt in McMap later on when I was in the Marine Corps. That's the Marine Corps martial arts program. But yeah, I had that black belt mindset. I had that vision that I was gonna make it. But I think I felt so prepared for Paris Island. I felt physically prepared, mentally prepared. That I remember one of the recruiters was like, nobody can prepare for Paris Island, and I kind of was like, okay, but I got punched right in the face when I got there, right? Not literally, but I got punched right in the face because I got sick. Now you're away from your family, you're away from your all the comfort stuff, right? That you can say, I'll take a sick day. You can't take a sick day in Paris Island, right?
Yep.
You
Yep.
got to tough it out. You got to figure out a way to survive.
Hmm.
And that it was those kind of situations, those kind of obstacles that made it even harder for me, but made me stronger.
It's interesting because when I'm listening to you, you were always looking to get more structure and discipline and something that will toughen you up. Where is that coming from? Did you have to, like, I think you mentioned something and I kind of interrupted you that you were overcoming certain situations when you were a younger kid. What was it in you that wanted to be this structured, disciplined guy?
Yeah, I just think, growing up, feeling like an outsider, feeling like, I wasn't getting good grades, struggling with some of my sports, not remembering like for football, not remembering my plays, not starting, not being where I should be, setbacks, and then wrestling, as a senior, I was a good wrestler, but losing first round of districts when you had freshmen and sophomores placing in districts, what I mean? Just, failing and having that pain over and over again. Your father telling you, hey, it looks like you ain't learned nothing. Looks like you're not good enough. All your coaches and the people around you are like making fun of you. And they're like, hey, you ain't gonna be nobody. I remember I had a coach say, if you start on this football team, I'm gonna quit. When you're a young man,
Yeah.
you're insecure, you're sensitive, right? And
Yeah.
being,
It breaks
growing up,
people. Yeah.
yeah, and growing up in the household I did, I just felt like sometimes I couldn't do anything right. But at the same time, I knew my parents, they were hard on me, right? My dad's Marine, my mom is, you know, a strong woman, right? Structured woman, Marine mom, Marine wife, right?
Yeah.
They wanted me, they seen something in me because they seen I got my black belt. They seen something in me that they were like, I gotta be hard on this kid. I gotta, make sure that, he takes things seriously and pays
Yeah.
attention to those small details, right? And so I think all that adversity, all that pain, and all that suffering, being alone, all those times growing up,
Hmm.
it kind of you know, kind of gave me that vision of, hey, I got to be a lot better. I got to put more work in. I got to figure out a way to intellectually, physically overcome anything. And
Why did you think you have issue with grades?
well, I got a lot of C's, D's, F's when I was
And
younger. Catholic
yeah.
school was very hard for me because it was a smaller class. The teachers weren't, I believe, they weren't as great as some of these other teachers, maybe in these other schools. And I just think that um, they didn't know how to pivot and adapt in terms of their teaching styles, right? You had maybe 4 or 5 people in there that were extremely smart, can adapt to any learning style. And I felt like, some people when they're younger, they understand things maybe a little bit more than you, right? Everyone takes a little bit more time to
Yeah.
speed up, right, in the classroom. So I just felt like I learned different. I was thinking different.
Hmm.
There were things that a lot of the schooling I wasn't interested in. So I just had a harder time and then felt like
Because
that out.
you seems to me like you put hard work when you want to do something, and it's kind of interesting that that didn't translate into school results because I would guess that somebody like you would just put his head down and just like figure it out, you know. But it you may have a hard time with understanding certain things possibly, or like you said that the teaching style wasn't what you needed. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and I think, it was meant to be for me to go through the struggles that I did growing up in terms of my grades, because a little fire under my ass when I started paying for tech school when I got out, that I was gonna be the hardest working, best reader, best, I was gonna be the hardest working person in that class, and I was gonna make my hard money that I was paying for. I was going to make it was going to be worth it.
Hmm.
110%.
Yeah. That was another fascination when we first talked, when you started telling me that you are already investing. And I think I don't know many young men that are at your age thinking about investing for the future and then starting businesses and uh, getting themselves set up for future. You are still active duty or on reserve, but you already think ahead. You already think 10, 20, 30 years ahead, which is fascinating to me. Where did that come from? Did you have role model for that kind of thinking, or did you start on your own, just figuring it out, set yourself for life?
Well, I think, I had that, like I said, I had that black belt mindset in terms of I want to be the best at everything I can do, right? And I think financially, I knew that, if I want to be able to do what I want to do one day, be able to, be on podcasts like this, on a Friday and make my own schedule and create
Yeah.
my own destiny, I'm gonna have to invest in myself first, and then I'm going to have to invest in, stocks. I'm going to have to invest in real estate. Real estate's gold, right? And I'm going to have to learn businesses. I'm going to have to learn a lot of things in terms of the business environment if I want to be able to get to where I want to be. And and
So
my dad
what is
always,
it? What is it where you want to be? What is in your mind? What is your big why? Why you do all this? What is your vision for your ideal place in the world?
well, I think real simply, I want to show human potential to the world. That's why I think God made me, and I want to help people. I want to give back. And I know that, that may be vague, simple, whatever, but I feel like there's a lot of details to dig into that to get there, right? I believe you gotta invest in yourself, right? You gotta put as much time into yourself as you can because you are your greatest asset, right?
Yeah.
You gotta invest, right? You gotta learn to invest. You gotta be smart with your money. It's a disciplined game, right? And you got to build up, accomplishments. You got to do things you love. You got to do positive things, right? And you will have a platform that you're proud of, right? Just like the Marine Corps, I didn't do that for money. I did it for love, the martial arts. I don't do that for money or fame. I do that for love of it, right? It connected with me for some reason, right? And
Yeah.
that's where I trust my faith, and that's where I want to build up to.
Yeah, you said helping people, but why? Why does it matter for you personally? What is it, that vision that drives you towards this goal? There's tons of distractions in the world, and you can do a million things, and you can take a job and take it easy. So, what is that engine that drives you there? I feel from you, from the first moment we spoke, you are born leader. You cannot be follower. You cannot be sitting somewhere being told what to do and say, okay, and maybe I'll do it. Like you would be jumping out of your skin. So what is that motor that drives you towards this vision? Because you destined to do big things. I have that feeling from you, really. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think the motor is, my faith. I feel like, something is telling me that I gotta be bigger, better, and stronger because that's human potential. I want to reach that human potential. I want to be able to leave this earth saying that, the world was my encyclopedia. I gave something back and that I became something that was unimaginable. I wasn't a statistic. I was in my own category in that I feel like I have every opportunity to do that. So if I don't put that work in, right, then I'm just cheating myself. And because, they always say, like Jocko Willink's book, discipline equals freedom, right? Discipline equals a beautiful life, right? I want to have that beautiful life one day. I want to be proud of myself. I want to, you know, uh, leave an inheritance for my future generations and for my kids and for my wife. I want my wife one day to say, hey, this guy's amazing. I never met someone like that. For a man, be the man of your woman's dreams. Don't try to find the woman of your dreams, right? So life's all process, but you gotta love it. And there's going to be some times where it's going to get tough. You don't love it, it's going to be, but that's where you go back on my why. What's my why? And then you look at your goals, you got your to-do book and you're jotting down all your goals for the day and you focus on, hey, I'm crushing my day today because I got done all my goals, right? I won today. What's going on for tomorrow? How am I setting myself up for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of how you got to take it day by day. You know what I mean? And
Okay, I understand you have pretty clear path how to get there, but can you tell me, and this is like it's funny, I mean, I hope I'm not putting you in a space, but you said beautiful life. What does it look like for you as a person when you reach there? What is your ideal way of living because you set up the foundation early enough to get there?
yeah, I think, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to run businesses. I want to help people in those aspects, right? Run nonprofits. I want to be proud of my military career. I want to do everything that I can inside my military career, and be proud of that. I want to have my family not worry about anything financially. I want to support them financially. But I want to write books. I want to, I plan to write a book on black belt mindset. I'm actually looking to trademark that. Uh, that was yesterday. I was looking to I'm going to trademark it, looking into that. So, I want to, I think anybody can have the mindset I have if they, go through, martial art training, become a Marine. I think those are the two things that everybody can do. And I want to share that message. I want to share that blueprint because I just think people just need more structure. If they don't have,
Yeah,
we see kids in society today, they don't have structure, but maybe that's because it's the adults teaching them fault, right? Maybe it's the leader's fault, right? No bad
yeah,
teams, only
yeah,
bad leaders, right?
yeah,
So if we can just break down, because life's complicated, right? But if we can break down the structure for those kids and just break it down and then break it down more onto their level where they can understand things, right? We
yeah.
can build better structures for kids to be able to become everything they want in their life and have confidence and be able to defend themselves and have, that mental and physical strength as a martial artist, and then be able to serve their country honorably because they're going in with that mindset and that realization, and they're not fighting against it, they're embracing it. So that's the
Yeah.
message that I want to expand to the world, because it, for some reason, worked for an average kid, that was insecure, that had problems, that his teachers told him he couldn't do it, that, they put me in programs that's saying, hey, you're just not as fast as everybody, right? And it pisses you off because
Oh,
it's
they
like,
put you like you have difficulty learning?
yeah, right.
Oh,
Speech, you go to speech therapy, they're doing their test on you on saying, "Hey, why aren't you getting as good grades?" Well, maybe you're stupid, right? They're literally telling you this, right? Putting you through these
oh my
tests,
gosh.
right? Putting you through these tests, and of course, I would pass the test, and they'd be like, "Okay, well, he's not stupid," and it's like, "Well, thanks," you know what I mean? Before he's a young kid, you know what I mean? It's that is painful, it's
Yeah,
so much
yeah. And it's
pain.
sometimes one word can stay with you for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And pains, words as a kid are painful. So I kept that with me. I said, I'm going to prove people wrong, people wrong. And, I started, building up, some type of success. And now I'm starting to prove those people wrong. They talk to me and they're like, I was wrong about that kid when he was 10, 12, 15, 16, whatever. But that is what I really want to help. I want to help people with. I would love to make more martial arts in this world. Certainly at the, when you're at that level of, kids and young adults, I would love to put my impact on the world on that. And that's where I see, a country, a world full of black belts, stronger, harder minded people with stronger faith. And that's
I
where
think I think the faith
yeah,
when you mentioned it and you said something about I want to come to the end of my life looking back and be proud of what I achieved. I think that plays a huge role in your decision making because somebody once said, I don't remember who was that, I don't want to misquote, but when I die, I want to be able to say that I used all the talents God gave me properly.
yep,
And so many of us goes through days, months, sometimes years, not even living, not even noticing, just going through the routine, not striving to achieve anything, just getting through the week so we can have a weekend. So many people have that mindset. So it's very exceptional when you can wake people up and make them look at it a little differently because we really have our life is a gift. And if you don't treat it like one, then it's not going to have value, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I just think there's so many distractions. Like you said, there's so many distractions today. There's so much things going on that we don't realize that gift God gave us, right? He doesn't want you, to be eating Doritos on the couch, 12 o'clock at night, sleeping in till 12 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And
Hmm.
being a slouch, right? He wants you going out there crushing it, right? He wants you going out there showing his potential, right? And expanding that reach and pushing those boundaries.
What you said about kids, the way that role model play a role in their life and the way they look at life definitely matters. I have a friend, and it just reminds me that I wanted to introduce you guys, who is also very he's physically challenged. He's disabled, didn't stop him. He works out like crazy. He's a picture of health, even though his one leg is short and he's all crooked kind of when you look at him. But oh my gosh, that mindset is so strong. And he's teaching parents how to deal with teenagers, the troubled kids. And I can only imagine, I don't know exactly his process and his coaching, but I can imagine the role model, it plays a very strong role in when the kid is kind of retrieving to his own shelf. There is a reason for it, and it's usually lack of communication, and we are busy and the kids don't have the attention they need. it could backfire because what you went through, you absolutely loved your father and you wanted to, him to be proud of you. Some kids claim that they were being restricted by that because they
Right.
always felt like they need to make their father proud and they never did. So some people it backfire on them. So it's just fascinating kind of study of people characters because I think in your case, and that's my personal opinion, the strong faith also plays roles because it's not just you and your dad and your mom. It's something bigger in you that you need to kind of fulfill your role in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think a big thing that helped me when I was younger, and I think was an important factor along with the martial arts training. Like if I didn't have that martial arts training, I don't think I would have had any confidence because at that point, right, when you're 10, 11, 12, 13, didn't accomplish anything, right? Getting bad grades, getting in, would have been getting in more trouble than I probably was, right? And not having, like I said, not having the confidence, not having that mental strength, that adversity, the people, even like martial arts, you build. I want to have the best face, right? What have that best face, that best appearance, that best personality introduction that I can, right, to the people around me, to people I'm meeting with, the people I'm introducing. So I felt like
Hmm.
uh, when I was younger, right, I had that I need to be the best that I can be in front of people, right? Like that black belt mindset into other things. It
How
spread
does
into
it
other things.
how does it martial art achieve that? What in that particular training forms you to be like that?
Like we said earlier, Vera, it's show me your friends, show me your future, right? The people that you're around in the martial arts training, right? You're around high value people. Your instructors are high value people. They're kind of wearing that off onto you, right? Because they had the discipline, they had the know-how, they had that mental, physical strength that I want to be the best at everything that I can be in every category, right? If I'm meeting someone, if I'm saying hi to this person, if I'm introducing a business plan to this person, right? If I am meeting my girlfriend's family for the first time, if I'm trying to build financial freedom, if I'm trying to write a book, if I'm trying to ace a job interview, whatever it is, right? That's the black belt mindset. So I think with me, being around those people, building discipline, what I mean, as a young kid, in terms of the workouts, either it's holding that plank, holding that position, going home, and learning your forms for your test tomorrow, having like that accountability, just like the military, like you
Mhm.
have an accountability that, hey, I got to pass this test, right? Because this is what I signed up for, right? This is what my parents want me to do and want me to be. And I got to get to that black belt goal of mine. So the first thing that I gotta do is I gotta become a yellow belt. Then I gotta become an orange belt, a red belt,
Yeah.
so I can get to black belt. So, I think the one thing God gave me when I was younger, right, I felt like was that vision, right? So when I was a kid, I had that vision that was the steps that I had to go through. And, that's what I was gonna be and who I was gonna be. So that martial art training, you know, um, did everything for me in every aspect, in my life, to build
Mhm.
that person.
If you could relate this, if you were like, imagine you were a teacher and you have somebody in front of you who start things and then doesn't finish, doesn't have the drive to drive that vision home, always gives up on themselves and on their dreams. How would you approach it if that's their life history? there
Right.
is there is a certain mindset that that person have that needs to be advanced or changed, and change is hard, of course, for people. So it's how would you approach it if you were a teacher, if you were a speaker that can influence minds of others, because you have it, but not everybody does have the same drive like you do.
You know what? Like very like you hit it right on the head. Like the person's like intimidated by somebody else's success because they haven't been there, they don't know how, and they don't understand what I'm going through, right? So I
Mhm.
think that the main thing, I think for a teacher or some of the people I mentor, right? um, you got to dig into that person. You got to say, what? Okay, what are we going? What are you going through? What are you going through? Right?
Yeah.
What are you going through? Tell me your life story. What are your goals? What are your ambitions? You got to ask the right questions and
Yeah.
ask the questions. Right? You got to just ask the questions and dive into it. Ask their why. What do you want to be? How do you want to be? Don't you want to make your family proud? Right? Don't you want to have a legacy for yourself? And like God's got a plan for you. God's got a plan for everybody, right? You just
Yeah.
gotta figure it out. And I went through struggles with like that. I mean, nothing was perfect for me, but luckily I had some structure and I got lucky, because I don't think if I would have went through that martial arts experience, I don't think if I had that structure, right, it would have
Hmm.
been a lot harder for me, right? So I just think, for those people that feel like that, you just gotta, reflect back on what you want to be. What do you see yourself being? What's your why? And dig into, the little details. And that's something that I would, I think we just need to dig, certainly the younger generation, younger people, we need to dig into them. What's going on? What's your why? I understand what you're going through. And it's not yeah, social media is not real life, what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because that person is posting something on their Instagram that they're getting a million likes, right? They're not posting how they feel when they're depressed, when they just, lost
Or
the,
how many hit it took before they hit it.
yeah,
Yeah.
or when they broke up with their girlfriend or boyfriend, or they, you know, uh, somebody died, or they didn't get the business opportunity. Social media is not real life, and I think young kids are getting exposed to this at a young age,
Yeah.
right? That that's where that's a confidence killer. If you're seeing somebody like I can't get those many likes, I can't become that person, I can't become that success. Yes, you can. Don't deceive yourself just by what you're looking at. And,
But it's
you got
also, I
to,
think they seek for approval from outside world that they don't even know,
right.
because it's the out of reality kind of experience, like you said. And I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be really tough for the, I mean, we grew up outside, this is a whole different world, and it's hard for me to understand as
Yeah.
well. And I'm much older than you are. You must have grown up during social media already, at least partially.
Yeah, well, luckily enough, like early 2000s, late 2000s, I wasn't exposed to it as much. So like
Mhm.
I remember we're actually going out playing outside, right? I remember like not having the social media factor. My parents kind of
You
were
didn't have time
I
for it,
didn't.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have time for it, but I wasn't like given a smartphone like some of these kids today and said, hey, play on this. You know what I mean? We
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that money. We didn't have the my parents weren't just gonna give me a phone. They were thrifty
Yeah,
with their money, right? So it was probably middle school, high school, I started getting exposed to it and started seeing that. So luckily, like looking back now, I could see the difference
yeah,
of kind of being channeled. I was kind of channeled into this structure, discipline. You're gonna be like your dad and your mom. You're gonna be hard worker, that blue white collar mix of a person. You're not afraid to get your hands dirty, but you're also gonna be smart intellectually, right? And work up to that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It just felt like that's kind of what I was funneled. That was like my YouTube channel, right? Black belt, sports, you're going to work hard. You're going to, if you keep failing, right, you're going to keep moving forward, right?
yeah,
And I just think a lot of kids nowadays, they fail once. I can't do it.
yeah.
My
Oh, yeah.
YouTube video failed. I didn't get that many views. I'm not going to be the next Jocko Willink where I got millions of followers. I'm going to quit. No, you got to fail to get ahead. You got to fail to get ahead. And,
Yeah,
just because, some of the stuff that I went through, when I was growing up worked for me, I went through a lot of failures, but I kept going. And that's why I had a good structure and support system to say, hey, you're not going to quit this. Okay. I just paid whatever amount of money for you to go to martial arts school. You're not going to quit because,
yeah,
you're going to get through
yeah.
this. You know what I mean? So accountability is big.
Yeah, it definitely is. I heard once Sarah Blakely, she's a founder of Spanx, multi-millionaire, self-made, and
Yeah.
I once heard her on podcast with Tony Robbins, and she said something that got me thinking immediately because I wasn't raised that way. She said, my father, us kids, when we came from school, he was never asking us what we achieved, what he asked us what we failed at that day.
Yeah, I
And
remember. I've seen
and
that. Yeah.
it was fascinating to me because when I listened to it, it just like hit in my head. It was like, yeah, because that teaches you that that's part of life. If you don't fail, you don't try. And I learned in my youth, like it was expected to bring perfect grades. It was my responsibility. Nobody was sitting with me doing homeworks or something. But I had that pressure on me to be perfect. And every
Yeah.
time I failed, I felt like failure, and I would be told that. So I can relate to both ways because now I understand that that mindset, like you fail, that's not the end of the world. You fail, you get up and you start again. And now you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. Big difference. But that experience, like I mentioned before, it's so hard to transfer to somebody else. Sometimes people you care about have to go through same hard mistakes that you were trying to prevent for them, but they won't believe you. They have to fell on their noses themselves to live through it. But it's really that's form us. That's what forms us. That's what creates us to the people we are today. And it's without failure, it's really hard. I don't know many people that had their path swiped before of them take every leaf from their path and everything was done for them that created strong leader. I don't know if you know about any, but I don't.
Yeah, and I think having that accountability partner, you talk about, having parents or having, friends, right? Show me your friends, show me your future, right? Having those accountability partners to say, hey, um, keep failing, right? Keep moving forward. Read this book, read that, do this, do that. Um, that is a huge lifeline, certainly as a kid, to keep
Mhm.
moving forward because you know that okay, well, I gotta fail. That
Yeah.
fine. Let's go out and fail, and let's keep moving forward. Let's get better. Let's build that resistance training. When you don't even know it. You know what I mean? So it's all, yeah, great, great stuff.
So Billy, what's next for you? What is uh, you are still doing your duty in with the Marines. You are setting yourself up for future. I know you mentioned that you want to write a book, and you are speaking. You are mentoring already. You are helping with veterans. What else is there that you wanna get into? That how you gonna achieve your perfect life and dreams?
Yeah, I strive on reading a book a week. I'm almost at 50 books this year. I'm a big reader. I call myself a book nerd because I am. I love reading. If there's a problem in front of me, I read it and then plan for it. So, to get to my goals, I just have to be consistent. Consistency is key. I got to compound in terms of what I'm learning, and what I'm doing financially, saving my money up. I think real estate is gold. 90% of the world's millionaires are in real estate. So I think that I need to keep investing in real estate, keep investing in myself, get the most out of my military career. You keep helping out my nonprofit, part of my nonprofit, Right to Heal, helping veterans, connecting with people, just getting the word out. Writing my book, Black Belt Mindset, and building that structure for future generations to make their lives easier, right?
What is that
Um,
nonprofit about? Can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
yeah, so I'm part of a nonprofit called a Right to Heal. So what we're doing right now is we're supplying free veterans drone program
Right.
for drone training for veterans, which is awesome. So if anyone needs it, hit me up, contact me. So we're supplying a free drone training program. for people to go out. They get a free drone. They go out. You can get a job. You start a business. For me, it really helps out with my mental stresses. I love flying drones. It's fun. You can go out, you can make money, you start your own business, meet people. You're outside. Outside for me is therapy, right? Out in the fresh air. And here, if you have a similar plan that I do, you can use it to shoot your rental properties. You can shoot it to shoot your realtor's rental properties or his listings. It kind of makes sense, if you're in that kind of realm, in that path. So it was a great opportunity. I went through the first veteran show program. I graduated. It was a huge success. It was awesome. And I worked with Lisa Regina. She was an actress on The Sopranos. So she was a domestic violence survivor. She went through a lot of trauma, a lot of grief, obviously, and she would write stuff. Her nonprofit called Right to Heal, because when she would write, it would help her, put all that pain onto that paper. So years later, she ended up seeing that the domestic violence survivors really have a lot to relate with military service members that have PTSD, or you know um, that went through that
Drama. Yeah.
adversity and that drama, and that everything that comes along with it. So she found that common ground, started connecting with veterans groups, kind of grew the nonprofit, and started this veteran stroke program. So I was invited to. I met with her. I loved her calls, and I was like, let's do this. So we're gonna try to get through as many veterans as we can this year. Last year we got through about 10 veterans. So this year we're gonna probably try to push for 20 or even more veterans to get, Part 1 of 7, a free drone. And we're also shooting a series, a TV series called Heroic Episodes, which is going to show real veteran stories. Keep Hollywood out of it, right? Show the real veteran stories, in terms of what they went through, honor them in a film series that we're getting together. So it was a lot of great things with that. And I also just became a mentor for Seven Eagle. I just found out this week that I was picked to be a mentor for Seven Eagle. They are a transitioning active duty, right? You have active duty personnel going into civilian world. They're a transitioning group that helps out military service members transitioning to life, transitioning to the civilian world, which is very underrated. It's very
Yeah.
tough because
Yes.
you're losing that structure, you're losing that camaraderie, and you're losing that way of life, right?
Yeah. Identity,
So
basically. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm honored now to be part of these groups. More and more people now want my services, and things are, growing great, for me, and I really just love helping veterans out as well.
Remind our listeners, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Incredible. This is seriously, you have achieved more than some people achieve in their lifetime already. So I really applaud you. This is incredible meeting for me. I'm so glad we met and then, started some conversations because I am stunned. I love people that have a vision and they go after it, and it's kind of encouraging for everybody else who may be sitting on the sidelines and they don't have the courage to approach some maybe big dream or big plan that they have, and they are talking themselves out of it. You really, like, one of the things Bill said was, who is around you, who is your closer circle really matters. It's not just a quote. You are the average of 5 people that you spend most time with. And it may cost you some friendships, because when you start growing and your friends don't, suddenly you outgrow that group and you cannot go back, and you trigger their insecurities because you are growing and they are still sitting there complaining and bitching about life, and you are no longer that person. And it costs sometimes friendships, but I believe that somebody said, if you enter the room and you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. You need people around you who builds you up, who challenge you, who shows you that there is much more than your close-minded vision even capture. And it's not just about money, but let me give example with money. Let's say you're making $30,000 a year, and that's good salary for somebody. And then you meet somebody who makes $100,000 a year. They make different decisions. They think differently. They look at business differently. And then imagine like, okay, so maybe you will get there and now you have a mindset. You meet somebody who is making $5 million a year. And that mindset is completely different. And it's not just about what the value of money is, but how to approach life. What is meaningful? What is meaningful to spend time on? What is effective? What is, the quality of life that you're seeking? All these things matter, and everybody has personal, and that's why I was kind of like drilling from you, what is that big why that you have in you? Because being rich, and it's again, I don't mean this just money wise, it means something else to everybody else. For some people, being rich means that they are healthy, that they don't have to worry about mortgage, that they can easily make decisions, they don't have to worry about bills being paid and on time and everything else. And for other people, being rich means social status, to have cars and expensive watches and show off that I am somebody. And that's very different for everybody. And there's no judgment here at all. But it's interesting that you going at it from the, in my mind, very strong value based, set up for life, set up for family, so I can make impact, I can help others, I would talk you out of the inheritance for children, because let them achieve. It's
Yeah.
much better than leave them inheritance. But that's obviously your choice. But it's fascinating. It's such a joy meeting you as a young man that has it all figured out, and you know where you're going, and it's absolutely fascinating. And plus, you are already serving, not only thank you for your service in Marines, but you are already serving veterans. You are already foreseeing what they deal with when they transition from the active duty. It's absolutely fascinating to me that somebody in your age is so mature, really. Such
Well, I just think being that only child growing up, um, learning from, my elders, right? Learning from older people, going through like the martial arts studio, a lot of older, well-minded, right, strong-minded people. I looked up to them. So it was
yeah,
like it was natural for me to hang out with them and learn and talk to them because they kind of always treated me like an adult, right? Because you kind of so like some of the black belts, like going through the martial arts program, like I was 8 or 9 years old, I was kind of at like a junior belt position. There would be somebody 25, 30 years old at that
mhm.
same belt position I am, right?
Wow,
They
yeah,
didn't take
yeah.
age as like, oh well, you're gonna be put over here. No, you were put in a class, right? If you were at the same level, right? You just like the military, same level, same ranks. So you can be a 30-year-old private,
Mhm.
right? You just got in, now you're an 18-year-old private.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the same thing with the martial arts. So I naturally gravitated to these guys because I wanted to be better. I had that pain. I wanted to be somebody, right?
Mhm.
And I just gravitated towards the older people, the older crowd, and I still do that today. I mean, I
Yeah.
I hang out with more older people than younger people. What I mean,
Wow.
because I want to, hang out with that group of people that is going to elevate me. They've seen more life. They have more experience than me,
The
right?
experience,
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know anything, right? So I want to grow with them, see what they're doing, right? See how they think, they feel, their aspect of life, and you kind of funnel that to everybody. Okay, what are you doing with this? How are you doing with that? What do you do to support your family and all that? And to me, that was just like, oh my God, this is awesome that I have this opportunity. And you just get that at a young age and you run with it.
So many people think they have it figured out and they know everything, and
Yeah.
that's when you stop growing.
Yeah.
And you don't. You just like you achieved a lot, but you still feel that you don't know anything, which is the best way, because then you're hungry for more, and you're hungry for more knowledge, the books and everything that can teach you anything is is time well spent for you. And
Yeah.
that's really, I mean, it's fascinating to me. And I hope that this episode is very different than any other that I did before. But I just want to showcase how fascinating mindset somebody can have, and no matter what, just go through life and trying to achieve, and no matter what it takes. It's really not everybody has that, and it's very rare, so I applaud you.
Yeah.
Can I have a personal question?
Yes.
Is there a lady in the picture?
No, I am single, so I am available. But
Okay, well, he's catch, ladies, just in case.
but to me, you had that goal, that vision of who you want to be, and I want to make sure that I'm there before I commit to somebody that's looking for that as well, right? I want to match what they're putting out too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I set my bar high when I date. It's not just about the face, right? It's about what's inside,
absolutely.
about what they're doing, their moral. So dating's tough. It's a tough aspect, but I know my time will come. Something's telling me that, hey, keep going,
Next
keep
time,
working on
next
yourself.
time, definitely.
Which sometimes it's difficult, I mean, but you have to say, hey, you know what? Um, the longer I wait, right, the better I'm going to get, and the better I'm going to,
Yeah.
put on the other person too.
Definitely. And I think it's like you said, you want to become the man that the right woman will praise you for. You don't want to just be smitten by somebody's, beauty. You need the character and the values to match what you put in the world. And I wish you all the best. I wish you to find a wonderful woman that will deserve to be in your world, and you in hers, and you will complement each other. And I wish you the best success in your life, because you are set up for great things.
Yeah, thank you
For
so much.
sure.
No, yeah, I appreciate
And
it.
how are your parents today? How's your father? Is he proud of you?
Yeah, no, my dad is, he's proud of me. He tells me that. My mother's proud of me. That was just, the only thing you want in
Yeah.
life is to make your parents proud, try to be better than your parents are. And they're doing great. My dad actually he works for the Navy now. He works on ships, so he's doing great. He's actually in Jacksonville, Florida right now. So he's not
Oh,
not too far from me, probably what, a couple hours, right?
yeah. Well, more than couple. It's
Okay.
about
Yeah.
6 hours, maybe 7.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's
Well, he's
huge. Florida is big. Yeah.
yeah. But my mother's doing good. She helps me out with a lot of stuff now. She's kind of like my sidekick when it comes to a lot of stuff that I'm doing
Mm.
and scheduling stuff, doing stuff for me. She's retired now, so she's helping out a lot.
That's good.
Even with my rentals, doing property management. So, but that is the biggest thing in the world, is to get your parents' approval, but they'll also say, "Hey, I'm going to make them even more proud." I mean,
Yeah.
that's a huge why I think everybody should have
Yeah.
with their parents.
I think you took those values and you 10x it already. So you going places. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
I'm really
trying.
impressed with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Billy, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your service, for everything you do. And I'm hoping this is not the last time we talked, because me too. I want to have you in my life. I want
Yeah.
to I want to have my circle of people that inspire me to do better and to be better, because there were times when I didn't have it and I wasn't as strong as you are today. And I let some dreams go because I didn't have anybody on my by my side that would kick my ass and made me believe. And let me tell you, I regret certain things that I haven't pursued because it's sometimes you cannot re-enter that arena, you cannot repeat it. It's sometimes the time passes. So it's definitely, even though we are very different age group, it's worth some time to think. Some people tell me, "Well, I'm old. I'm not gonna change now." And it, till the day you breathing, there is worth your time to learn something new or to change or to look at something. We are here to leave the world in a better place than we found it. So we are all doing our part, and just don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. Whether you are 27 or 65 or 85, it doesn't matter. There's still space for you, and you are needed, and your wisdom is needed, your experience is needed. And so this is fascinating for me to share the wisdom with you and from you to other people, because I think we all need to get inspired by people like you. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's why adapt and overcome. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Embrace it. Embrace the change and embrace your age and embrace who you want to be because it's never
Yeah.
too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late.
And one good vision that you have for yourself is you want to be the man to find the right woman that will match. And not often people think that way. Just like, I want to have this guy, but no, you have to be the person that this guy would be interested in. So it's always, it comes first in the mind, the vision, who you want to be, and then getting there, and then the other things will just follow. It's like once you stop chasing, you becoming first, and then the right people will appear. That's absolutely, and that's also something I didn't know for longest time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because you're trying. I think everybody, they're trying to chase that shortcut, that easy shortcut. And we all do it. I
Yeah,
do it sometimes. But when you say, you know what, pa patience is key, right? I'm going to fertilize myself. I'm going to invest in myself, and you see that God's timing is beautiful because you're trusting your faith. You're trusting yourself,
yeah,
and if you can do that in everything in your life, hey, I'm going to do things the right way, right? Black belt mindset, expand on that. You're going to see doors open up that you would never, never think
absolutely.
because
Yeah,
you're focusing on that, and
absolutely.
which is huge. It's huge. I
Yeah.
wish more younger people knew that.
Yeah, no, we need to do more podcasts like this. This message needs to get out. And it's not some, dream somewhere. It's somebody's living example that it's possible. And so when if you are someone who is sitting on the sidelines just thinking like, well, I don't know because it's not possible for me, it's possible for anyone. And I usually say that, but it's our biggest enemy, and I speak from experience, is right here in between your ears.
Yep,
That's our
exactly.
biggest enemy. Yep.
Yeah, biggest enemy, and that's why the body, the mind, and the spirit, right? That those three things together is unstoppable. You know what I
Correct.
mean? And if you have a vision and you have a goal, right? If you can build mind, body, and spirits together, right? You are unstoppable,
Yep.
you know, because your mind can think of anything that you want to think. Thoughts are free, right? So why not think at the highest capacity? Your body, if you can get the most out of your body, right? Amen to you, right? You're gonna have that longevity and that spirit, right? Having that faith, having that belief that I can do anything that I want to do in my life. I'm gonna make everybody around me better, right? And I'm gonna make the world a better place and have that confidence, right? That's where the thoughts are free. you should be already thinking about that because you got nothing to lose,
That's
right?
right.
And that all comes with faith and all comes from self-discipline. And that's why you gotta read, you gotta expose yourself, get up an hour earlier in the day. Do something that's gonna build that resistance training to yourself. Do something that sucks every day. And
Yeah.
you're gonna learn over time that you know what? I can do this and I'm getting stronger, right? I'm getting stronger every day. I'm building my, mind, body, and spirit. Just like you put those pennies into a jar, right? You're feeding your, all right, I'm gonna put it in my body, I'm putting it in my mind, my spirit. That's what I try to do every day to get to my goals. You know what I mean? And anybody can do that. You just gotta, thoughts are free. You just gotta
Yeah.
do it.
One of the biggest things, this is the beautiful ending to our conversation. It just reminds me of how people, you said you have a goal to read a book a week,
Yeah.
but I have met people who are constant learners, but they never
Mm.
apply it. There's a difference. Yeah, we cannot think our way through action. You have to take action and maybe fail and maybe relearn and maybe adjust. The direction that you're taking that you thought would be straight is never straight. But you cannot achieve sitting back overthinking what you're gonna do and how it's gonna and what will people think and how you're gonna respond. You have to only achieve it by doing it, because you will get the feedback, you will adjust, you will learn a new course of action. You have to apply that knowledge that you're seeking into action. Otherwise you will be the whole life just learning, nodding your head, yeah, they are right, that's how it works, but you never do it.
Right. And I think a big thing to not taking action is a lack of confidence, a lack of desire. Right. If you lack confidence in yourself, right, because you're telling that your thoughts through your mind, right, you need to change what you're telling yourself. And that desire, you know how it is when you're starving, you're hungry, right? You are gonna find a way to eat. You're gonna find a way, even if you gotta chase a deer down, right? And eat the deer, right?
Yeah,
You're gonna eat the deer.
because
So
it's survival. Yep.
right, because it's survival. So you got to find those two factors, right? That desire and that confidence to figure out why I'm not taking that action. And if you got a strong desire and you're confident, you're going to start taking action. And I think, like you said, you know, it's a problem with a lot of people.
It is. Yeah. And that's why we do podcasts like that, so we can inspire them that there is another way. And if you need some butt kicking, maybe reach out to Bill and he will talk sense to you.
Yeah,
He will He will help
yeah,
you with that
absolutely.
mindset. And it's,
Absolutely.
this is, what I love about this is this is not from books. This is what you live through. Nobody can tell you, well, that's not possible because you have done it. You speaking from experience already in your young age. You already achieved things that many people only dream of. So when you talk to somebody like that, don't take their wisdoms lightly, because they are not just saying things that in theory they read something. They say it because they lived through it and they were able to help others with it, and it's real. It's the real life. Just like we touched on social media. Social media is nice and stay in touch, and we met through social media. I would not otherwise meet you.
Yeah,
So I don't want to trash social media as well, but be selective with your attention and with your time and use it for the best that it could be used. Like meeting people like Bill, that you are in New Jersey, I'm in Florida. So we would not otherwise meet unless one of us traveled maybe and we happened to run into each other. But so for that, I love social media. But if you spend all day there trying to compare yourself to others and trying to imagine that somebody has it better than you, it's gonna destroy you. And it's a
yeah,
very mental game. And what you just said is so important, because just as we can make ourselves fear and anxious and even worry sick with our thoughts alone, we can make ourselves motivated and we can make ourselves having vision to be better, to be positive. having vision to where you want to be, what kind of man you want to be, or what kind of woman you want to be. It's all possible, and it's all possible right here. Not easy, but possible.
Yeah, and like you said, Vera, like you said, you gotta. How I always think of it is channel yourself, like even with social media, right? Channel yourself into who you want to be. Where do you think you're going to get the most out of what you're looking at, right? If I'm going to look at crap, right? And I'm going to be crap, right? Just like who is, you are who you eat, right?
You mean no
You know,
cats videos and stuff?
maybe a little bit, right? No, but time and place for everything, right?
Yeah.
But if you're gonna go look at content, right, you should always have in the back of your head, even if you're tired or not, man, I could be channeling something better. I could be learning something right now, and I'm
Be
watching this.
intentional. Yeah,
And that
intentional.
sometimes I mind trick myself because I care, because I have that strong desire. I care
Mhm.
that every minute on this planet, right, I should be making myself better so I can have the life that I want and feel fulfilled in everything that I'm doing, right? So, with social media, channel yourself. Turn off those notifications for those, maybe those cat videos because maybe you're watching too many cat videos, right? You
Yeah.
know, do yourself a favor and just go through your phone and just dial down those notifications, right? And dial those distractions down. You know what I mean? Because it's not doing you any better. If anything, that company, right, that's targeting you is winning, and you
Yeah.
don't even know,
You are
right?
a product. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You don't even know it. So you got to channel yourself, right? Be around the people that you want to be. Well, if you're on social media, you should probably be on LinkedIn because there's more winners on LinkedIn than losers, I think.
Mm.
If you look at all the channels, right? I hang out, or the most of the time I hang out on LinkedIn because it's
Well,
people
because
that
you have vision and you know where you're going. You
yeah,
are not there to just get entertained. Bill reached out to me because I had the privilege to interview a Navy SEAL before,
yeah,
and he happened to be in his circle, and that's how we met. And I'm fascinated by it, and I love it that you reached out because I would never even dream to have you on a podcast. I wouldn't know what we have in common, but because we introduce each other and get on a call, suddenly I have a new young friend, which
yeah,
I'm really grateful for.
yeah. And I have a friend, a grateful friend too that I look up to, and that's what
Thank you
like
for
I
not saying new old friend.
the old friend. Yeah, but yeah, I remember like Tommy. I remember how me and Tommy connected too. Was like he was somebody that I was like, whoa, this guy is a
Yeah,
Marine.
yeah,
He's somebody I aspire to. He made the most out of his military career. I got to connect with this guy, right?
yeah,
I got to,
yeah,
and I connected with him. We commented on a couple of the posts, and now, we're like, I'm LinkedIn friends with him, right? And hopefully we can meet in person and crush some stuff, right? But like
yeah,
we met just because I was aspiring in terms of what he's doing. I want to be like him. And
yeah,
then, of course, I seen the podcast with you and Tommy, and I was like, I got to connect with Vera. I got to see
yeah,
what Vera's
yeah.
doing. You know what I mean? And it's just
I
something
love it. I love how the world works, and the right people come to you at the right time. And just like you said, be intentional with your time because you will meet people that will push you even higher. And that's the whole purpose, I think, of life. I never wanted to settle. And when you have that hunger in you, no matter what your age is, you will never grow old because there's always something you're looking forward to. There's always something you're striving for. And that for me is engine for life. I can't just sit back and feel I achieved everything I wanted. That's it. If you don't grow, you die. That's
yeah,
there's no in between. Well, Tony Robbins once said it like look at everything in the nature. It either grows or it starts dying. There's
right.
no stable staying in the same place. It doesn't exist in the nature. So it's the choice you're gonna make.
Yeah,
And I
and,
think
and
you did. You made your choice a long time ago. Yeah.
yeah, and you learn quick that your ambitions and your desires, you should love to do the work in between, right? If you're not loving what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing.
That's very
And
smart what you just said, because a lot
yeah,
of people look just at that goal, but they don't appreciate the journey to get there. And
yeah.
it's discouraging to them. That's exactly, it's a wonderful thing that you just said. Yeah.
Yeah, and the you look at, hey, everybody wants to be rich, right? But as soon as they start trying to form an LLC, or they start trying to, try to get funds, they feel like they can't do it. They don't want to do it because
Mm.
they never looked into the scope of learning how to build a business, building themselves, learning that failure is actually the success, the recipe
Stepping
for success,
stone. Yeah.
right? They don't look at the vision. They don't look all the way down the barrel. They're looking just, at the beginning and say, you know what? I don't want to be rich. So it's maybe they don't have that strong enough desire to be rich
There is
because you're gonna,
also one
you
thing
know,
that you just reminded me of. I met a lot of people who set their goals, achieved them, and it didn't make them happy, because
hmm
they believed once I have this, I'll be happy. And doesn't matter if it's just money or achieving something. And that's the reason, because they don't appreciate the journey to get there. They don't live that journey that actually, by growing and achieving little by little, you are making yourself happy. The happiness is in you. It's not at some outside object or place, or once I buy this house I'll be happy, or once I marry this person I'll be happy. It's not there. It's not outside of you. And what you brought up is the journey that it takes to get there should be appreciated and really intentionally lived, because that's the whole point of the entire life. Because once you get to that goal, you just need to set yourself a higher goal and you just keep going.
Yeah, it's like they tell you every 5 years you need to reinvent yourself, right? So the same thing, like you hit your goal, right? Now you got to pivot. So it's almost like you need to have experience in adapting, right? In pivoting, in saying, okay, being having that confidence to say, hey, I'm going to go to the next goal and then the next goal and the next goal. And that just takes experience, self-awareness, knowing where you want to be. And like that's why for me, like I set my goals as high as I can because I know that thoughts are free, right? And I had the confidence to get there because I'm doing some of the back work, right? Building myself mentally, physically, spiritually, right? And I'm able to say, all right, failed, cool. Let's pivot. Let's go this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm committed to it because I had that. It might be a weave, it might be all this other stuff that I have to do, but I had that end goal
Yeah.
that I see what human potential is. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's some of these influencers that you see that, hey, the Jocko Willinks of the world, David Goggins of the world, some of these, business leaders, right? That you see what they're doing and you aspire to. So you say, okay, you like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, right? All those guys, and you break down and you see what they're doing and you see their path. Sylvester Stallone, no one wanted him for
Yeah.
Rocky. No one wanted his film, right? No,
Right.
no one wanted him to act in it. But he had that goal, that crazy goal that I'm going to be, one of the best actors in Hollywood.
It's somebody smart said that, you see the glory, but you don't see the story. And
Right,
we all have the tendency to see that somebody achieved something and success, and we think they had it easy,
right,
because you don't know the entire struggle and the entire journey, what they have to go and pivot and change directions and tried and lose maybe everything and try again. It's the whole story. It's never just what is on the surface. It's always what is going on inside of your mind, inside of your heart, what you're doing for it, how you think, what made you who you are today. And you have quite a few things very strongly set up in your childhood, but the rest is you. You just took those good tools and put them in best use possible. So it's fantastic to meet somebody like you. I'm really proud of you. And I wish you the best because you are set up for big things.
Yeah, I think trying to set my goals high here. So, but
That's
yeah,
right. That's right.
absolutely.
Bill, it was beautiful to meet you. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you so much for having me on.